Night's governing NPP demands an unqualified apology from the opposition NDC to the judiciary and the entire nation after its general secretary revealed the party did not have evidence to back its presidential election petition.
Post to losing the case, there have been several commentaries here and there to suggest that the judges were biased against them. When indeed you know from day one that you have no basis for going to court at all, I think they should apologize to Ghanaians and the judges at the Supreme Court and in fact the entire judiciary of the Republic of Ghana.
We have details plus the latest on the mudslinging that has characterized the NDC's reorganization process, with failed youth organizer aspirant Ernest Manu threatening to head to court.
NDC National Youth Elections. It is not over for me. It is not over for you. No. Going to court. Yes, I'll seek legal redress.
And Top Story is brought to you by Vodafone. Further together, I'm Ernest Manu. Apologize to Ghanaians, the Supreme Court and the entire judiciary. That's the demand from the governing New Patriotic Party following revelations by the NDC General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia that the party did not have evidence to back its 2020 presidential election petition. Former President John Dramani Mahama, who lost the 2020 polls, dragged the Electoral Commission to court, challenging the validity of results and the declaration of President Akufo-Addo as winner. John Mahama and the NDC argued that none of the candidates who contested the polls obtained more than 50% of the votes cast. They also alleged that the person said to have won the polls benefited from vote pardon. In fact, the NDC further claimed that the candidates declared winner benefited from arithmetic and computational errors. They invited the court to annul the results of the polls and ordered the EC to organize a runoff between John Mahama and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. But the 7-member panel unanimously disagreed and threw out the case of the NDC as lacking merit.
Conclusion. We conclude this judgment by emphasizing that the petitioner did not demonstrate in any way how the alleged errors and unilateral corrections made by the first respondent affected the validity of the declaration made by the chairperson of the first respondent on the 9th December 2020, as already stated in this judgment. The petitioner has not produced any evidence to rebut the presumption created by the publication of CI 135, for which his action must fail. We have therefore no reason to order a rerun as prayed by the petitioner as in relief F. We accordingly dismiss the petition as having no merit.
But 2 years down the line, Johnson Asiedu Nketia says the party did not have evidence before heading to court. He said even at the time he mounted the dog to testify, the self-collated results presented by the NDC was indefensible. We'll bring you that sound shortly, but first, listen to Mr. Asiedu Nketia when he testified at the Supreme Court during the election petition.
Now, in all the figures that were mentioned as the valid vote cast and all those things, you were saying if the figures were correct and that there were inconsistencies in the figures. I want to ask you, now, in your own calculation, what were the total valid votes cast in the presidential elections on 7 December 2020? In your own calculation. And all those calculations are reserved for a meeting for us to reconcile the figures, because the first respondent herself keeps changing the figures. And so it says, when you bring your, excuse me, let's look at here, help the court. You see, when you started giving evidence, you said you had all the representatives across the 275 constituencies. You said you should use the, yes, and they were to, collect the figures. You said it. Then he's asking you that from that, what figure did you get? You.
My Lord, I haven't brought that figure to court.
Okay. Then, from your own calculations, what were the valid votes cast in favor of the petitioner? To your knowledge.
My Lord, one will discover this discrepancy. It was difficult to even know which
so you don't know. You just answer. You don't know.
I don't have them there.
Now, in his interaction with party folks as part of his campaign to become chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia said this.
I know that coalition, the system of the bar said, a robust and strong fine coalition. You collate 5 regions now, or say are crashing.
He told us the system was strong and robust. However, after collating the results for 5 regions, the system crashed.
Results, at the right time, said the debate challenge the track commission. And so Krata here on the record.
That was why we didn't have the results at the right time to challenge the Electoral Commission's results. And then we said we wanted to collate the figures manually. Together with a team of university students, Griffiths again failed to do a good job.
There are times so say me ko jina da kamu. Mon fa results so mra na me fa nkwa. Results so am de ma me no. They say udi jina da kamba bi ase udi defend ya won imbe gu ase.
When I mounted the witness box in court, I asked him for the results. It wasn't good.
Na me ko defend the figures bi a enye defensible there. Me me fa sa ni gu ase no ko so. That's how they call lawyer Chikata.
And then we showed the evidence to lawyer Chikata. He told us that we would better find another lawyer if we were going to present this evidence to the court.
Say no na modi court today mo kope mo lawyer. Say me ye chama ya. Sa se bin se munu we emba.
Now, that's not all. He also accused the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, of influencing Osei Kwame Griffith, the NDC's Director of IT, to interfere with the collation system the party has set up for the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections, insisting that Griffith's appointment as Director of IT was at the instance of the current chairman, Samuel Ofusu-Ampofo, whom he is seeking to unseat in this weekend's election.
Say Yaman Kwayamana, yes, appointment, or you're prepared to resign as our national chairman.
Ofusu-Ampofo said he was ready to step down as leader of the party if you don't appoint Griffiths as the Director of IT.
You're appointing no Director of IT. Griffiths no. Or no accompany say Griffiths ne Bawumia.
Akamba during the meeting mentioned that the person to be appointed as the Director of IT has some underhand dealings with Vice President Bawumia, and that the party has to be extremely careful in handing over its election collation mission to him.
But you are tender, and now when we need
the party ignored the caution and went ahead to appoint Osei Kwame Griffiths as the Director of IT.
And I'm saying, I don't know, I better see my MPP for one never collect your dues. One more year, they did at the home, never yet here. What Sammy Crab Company, and I'm saying, you're Jumatin time, my chum, young farmer.
Johnson Asiedu Ketia, the General Secretary of the NDC, who is seeking to be chairman of the party this weekend. And we've reached out to the office of the Vice President. They have declined comment for now. We also reached out to Osei Kwame Griffith, who has been accused here of being influenced by the Vice President to influence the party's collation process and manipulate it in favor of the governing party. He declined to speak, saying it was not in the interest of the party to do so now, but we have some information from sources close to him about what link he has with the Vice President. Richard Kojunyako is my colleague. He joins me in the studio. Richard, what are we learning about how Griffith may be possibly linked with the Vice President, or what relationship at all exists between the two?
Well, so Ernest, a source close to Griffiths indicate that CEOs of various institutions that are issuing any form of ID cards were invited by the Vice President ahead of the issuance of the Ghana card. They wanted to understand their systems and make sure that the Ghana card is robust and satisfies certain standards. And so there was the NITA boss, the NHIA boss, the SNIT boss, among many others. And so there was he was there in his capacity as the CEO of NIA. We understand those
at the time.
Yeah, exactly. We understand those at that meeting were put on various committees on the Ghana Card Committee, and our source indicate that Griffiths was put on the technical committee, but he declined. He didn't serve because he didn't want to have anything to do with it. In fact, he even wrote an article against the selection of Margins Group of the contract, and our source close to him says what the CEDU in Ketia says shows a lack of understanding of the collation process.
Richard, thank you very much for bringing us those details. Let's go to the phone lines now. Gary Nimako joins us. He is Director of Legal for the governing NPP. Mr. Nimako, thank you very much for your time here on Top Story. We also have your colleague on the other side, Abraham Amaliba, who is Director of Legal for the opposition NDC. Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time here. Let me start with you, Mr. Nimako. Asiedu Nketia, in another interview this morning, agreed that, well, what he said is not new. In fact, the sound we played corroborates what he had said in that interaction with party folks. Why the need to apologize when, in fact, the Supreme Court disagreed with the party and threw out their case?
Well, good evening to you. Good evening to your listeners. Good evening to my brother, Abraham Maliba. You see, we went through elections in 2020. Post-election declarations were made. I quite remember His Excellency, the former president, openly declaring that he has won the elections and that he will not accept the result of the flawed elections. In fact, to all intent and purposes, in his view, he won the elections. Well, I came by the conclusion we didn't know. The next thing we saw, people were burning ties and doing demonstrations. The next thing we saw MPs on the other side, as the NDC MPs, marching to the EC office, demonstrating that they have won the elections, but the elections were being now declared for His Excellency, the President Akufo-Addo. The next thing we saw, they filed a petition in court, now saying that nobody won the elections. Then I said, if you have said publicly that you won the elections and you will not accept the result of the flawed elections, when you file your pleadings in court, you must show or just state that you won the elections and show the court how you won the elections and that the Excellency President Akufo-Addo did not win the elections. Yet you filed in court and said no one won the elections. Fast track forward. During the trial, as you rightly played out, Mr. Asiedu Nketia, a very veteran in politics and in electoral matters, was asked, how much votes did they garner in terms of the NDC, their coalition? He said that they bring the evidence to the court. Listening to him now and the tape and what happened in court, it is very clear. The matter speaks for itself. It is manifestly clear that NDC from the very day they decided to go to court, they knew they had no evidence at all to back the allegation that they won the elections. But they decided to go to court, one, to inform and deceive their supporters that they indeed won the elections, when in fact they knew that they didn't win the elections. Two, they want to deceive the court as well. So having taken us through, don't forget, people died in these elections. Human beings have died because of a certain representation that they won the elections, but the EC was trying to manipulate figures for people to win the elections. So with this revelation having been, come out in the public domain, I think Ghanaians deserve an apology from the NDC, from former President Mahama. He should apologize to Ghanaians because, and they also apologize to the court. Because if they knew from day one that in fact you had no evidence at all, and you showed it to your lawyer, and your lawyer says no, you do not have any evidence, so don't go to the court. And yet they managed to go to the court with a hope or an expectation that they will get CJ Mensah to mount the witness box so they can cross-examine him.
And I was just coming to that,
I think really that is most unfair process, because in Ghana, it's an adversarial system. We don't do inquisitorial in the system in Ghana. You go to court and win the case on the strength of your own case. You don't go to court and win the case on the weakness of the opposing side.
But Mr. Nimako, you made the point about they, seeing their lawyer with the evidence they have. In fact, Asiedu Nketia alludes to that in that sound. But the lawyer in question that was mentioned was in court eventually. And there must be something that must have convinced him to show up in court. And you recall that the NDC had said that part of the document they needed to prove their case was in the custody of the EC. The EC was not ready to release those documents. They prayed the court to compel the EC to do so. They did not get that. And so those must have been cases that impeded the case of the NDC.
Every election petition. Let me repeat this point. Of every election petition is the pink sheet. The pink sheet is your primary document. It is what you collate. Then you get the summation and see whether you won or you lost. These pink sheets are given to every party agent. Every party agent has a pink sheet. So you see, you cannot go to court and say you don't have the pin sheets. It's a no-brainer. You can't go to court and say that the pin sheet you have been given to your agents, you don't have it. It means that your agent didn't go to do the work well or something was amiss. Don't forget that MPP had a pin sheet, and lo and behold, our able lieutenant, led by Honorable Joe Anoche, did a very British work. Joe and his team, they made sure they did collation, and before the day that the dawn could even break, we have known that, look, the election has been won by the MPP. And let's say kudos to Joe Anoche and his people, and his entire team. Collation is not an easy job. So if your system has crashed, clearly it means they couldn't do the collation. They did 5 regions. What about the rest of the regions?
Well, Mr. Nimako, kindly hold the line. Your colleague on the other side, Abraham Amaliba, is on the line. Mr. Amaliba, would you apologize? Is this fair grounds to demand an apology, saying that even though this was a legal process, it was also very much political and cost us as a nation?
Mr. Alba, I say good evening to your listeners. Nothing is further than the truth. The party had the option to go to Supreme Court with pink sheets or go to Supreme Court on the declaration of the results by Jim Mensah. And you notice that Jim Mensah's declaration kept changing, and I'm told they changed 6 times. So when the party decided that we had to head to court, we approached Mr. Chikata. And Mr. Chikata said that, look, the MPP went to court in 2012 with 11,000 pink sheets. That did not result in the annulment of the 2012 elections. Why should we go to court with pink sheets? It will result in the same judgment that was given in 2012. So, in his wisdom, let's go to court based on the declaration. It is the reason why in the witness box, the General Secretary said that we didn't come there with pink sheets or we didn't come there with results. We are challenging the collated results by the EC and how come those figures kept changing.
Mr. Amaliba, before you proceed...
it doesn't mean that if the MPP went to court with 11 pink sheets, we should also go to court with 11 pink sheets.
Mr. Amaliba, before you proceed, so it is not true that lawyer Chachu Chikata said to the NDC that he did not have enough evidence to file this petition, to back this petition, as alluded by the General Secretary.
I am not in a position to answer that question because when we lawyers meet, we have our meeting. If the lawyer Chachikata meets the party executives, that's a different meeting I was never in. But in the meeting that I was with the legal team that was preparing this, it was simply a matter of choice. Let's go on the declaration and not on pink sheet because pink sheets have given us a certain result.
But Mr. Amaliba, I struggle to see how there should be different accounts, especially when Johnson Asiedu Nketia is not just an ordinary person. He's first of all General Secretary of the party, and secondly your star witness in this election petition. His account must be taken with seriousness.
But why do you want me to say his account is true or false? I said I wasn't there. Don't you understand? And I'm saying that we lawyers hold our meetings. And at our meeting, the strategy was don't go with pink sheets. Go with the declaration, which kept transmogrifying, which kept changing. Till this day, we don't know the real numbers as we speak. They have changed several times. So that was why we said that we needed the EC chair to mount the witness box for us to find out from her, because she is the custodian of all those documents, including the pink sheet. Why? In Techiman staff, didn't we send our pink sheet and the EC brought different pink sheets and the numbers did not tally? They are not in unison. And the judge said that he will rely on the EC's pink sheet. So we said that no, we won't go with pink sheets. on the declaration. And so our case was built around the declaration.
And so you're saying that is the only reason why Chachu Chikata agreed to go to court with you?
That is why he then went to court on the declaration, and we mounted our case on declaration.
And so the apology being demanded by the NPP, they will not get it?
It is uncalled for. They are looking for a twin in the NDC. They can't get that twin, and no apology is going to come from anybody from the NDC.
Mr. Maliba, hold the line for me. Mr. Nimako, you are not going to get an apology.
Well, it is left for Ghanaians to judge. I think that the court is in the right direction. You know, we all make mistakes along the line. If for some reason you made a mistake, and based on certain things that you did, you know, you realize that, look, I think we misled our people, we misled our supporters, we misled Ghanaians. In fact, we even went ahead even to chastise the court. If you look at the pronouncements post the decision by the Supreme Court, there have been several, statements chastising the court to make it appear as if the court, quote unquote, was in league, with the respondent. It's unfortunate. You see, so if my very good friend is saying that the party will not apologize, I think Ghanaians are there to be the best judges in this particular matter. But in my humble view, I think that they really misled Ghanaians. They misled their own supporters, and the way they treated the court, they have to be the humble pie and apologize to say, look, we think we erred at this time. We are sorry. And I think saying sorry won't hurt.
I'm grateful for your time. That's Gary Nimako. He's Director Legal for the NPP. Mr. Amale, but let me speak to you now about the happenings within your party. Broja Jemfi, who lost the youth organizer elections just last weekend on our sister station a while ago, indicated he is going to court. I just want to find out from you as Director Legal, has he exhausted all the processes within the party to resolve the issues that he has with that election?
I think at this stage, if elections are conducted and there's a party who feels strongly that things didn't go on well, it is expected that he will approach the party machinery and the party structures. If he doesn't get what he wants, then he can proceed to court. But I think that it is within his right to do what he's doing. But I just think that it will be proper that he brings this matter to the attention of the Council of State before proceeding to court.
But how is the party taking all the mudslinging that has characterized your reorganization process? Accusations, counter-accusations at all levels. How is the party taking this?
There have been statements from the Council of Elders, and I know today the Council of Elders are meeting, and I'm sure they are still at the meeting, calling for calmness and decorum in the elections and campaigning. I think candidates have gone overboard, and some of the comments that are coming are not pleasant. I think that after today's meeting, the Council of Elders will deal with these matters, and then I'm sure after which the party may see some semblance of peace. But the Council of Elders are meeting today, and top on the agenda is these matters that you're asking me of.
Very well. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Amaliba there. He is Director of Legal for the opposition NDC. Let's speak to a political scientist, Dr. Ali Dusedu. He joins us on the line. He's with the University of Ghana Political Science Department. He heads that department, actually. Doc, I'm grateful for your time. For a party in opposition seeking to win the next election, what do you make of all that has happened so far, even ahead of the major election that will see them reorganize to capture political power in 2024?
Thank you so much. Good evening to you and to your listeners. I think what is happening in the NDC is not new in the discourse of internal party elections, especially at the time that the NDC believe they have a greater chance of winning the next elections. Internal party elections are built around factions, and most of these factions don't behave their behavior is not informed by ideology or principles, but it's largely built around very specific, particular, important individuals within the political party. And they start just like smaller groupings, and care if not taken, it builds up into a very powerful political bloc that can make the decisions of the political party. So what I'm seeing now is just those factions playing out from the youth, women level to what may come up largely in this weekend elections. And if you look at most of the contestants, they try in a way to affiliate themselves to a specific candidate in the party and trying to buy into the network and loyalty and power of those individuals. Care should be taken now to make sure things don't go out of hand, because the success of a political party in winning elections is dependent on internal unity, cohesion, and their ability to keep the party secret at all times. Because being in an executive position in the political party is a privileged thing, and you access privileged information by virtue of the position that you occupy. So if people are willing to come out with these privileged information to undermine other competitors in order to win elections, then it portends a lot of danger for the party.
I'm grateful for your time. That's Dr. Ali Duseidu. He is a political scientist and head of the Department of Political Science at the University of Ghana. That's it for Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. Further together, Ernest Manu. After these messages, MFR Pau will be next on your radio with Newsnight. Please stay.